We're just about ready to begin. We do have quorum, but I'm embarrassed and sad to note that our building seems to be having some issues, and we are going to probably limit our own on camera, probably just to the current speaker, and maybe not at all. And if anything even more drastic happens, we hope to be able to announce that to our facilitator. With that, I'll hand this back to the facilitator.
Thank you. This is your moderator. I'll begin the recording and then turn the floor over to Dr. Mountain.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Vocational and Psychiatric Technicians February 2022 board meeting. My name is Dr. Carol Mountain, and I'm the board president. I would like to call this meeting to order at 9:02 a.m. First, some housekeeping information on how this meeting will be conducted. This meeting is being held via WebEx on Friday, February 18, 2022. I ask the board members and staff to mute their microphones to eliminate background noise, and when they are ready to speak, they can unmute. WebEx has a feature to virtually raise your hand, and I ask board members to use this function after each agenda item if they would like to comment or have questions. If we need a motion, I will call for a motion, and any board member can raise their hand, identify themselves, and make a motion. If you are seconding a motion, please raise your hand, unmute, identify yourself, and second the motion. I will take a roll call vote for each motion. Again, please identify yourself by name each time you speak so our audience knows who is speaking. I'm especially happy to see faces and encourage all board members to activate their cameras if you have not already done so. However, in light of the limited bandwidth that we seem to be experiencing, not activating your camera may be a better idea. We will take public comment on each agenda item. To request time to speak, make sure the Ask menu is set to all panelists and type, "I would like to make a public comment." Attendee lines will be unmuted in the order the requests are received, and you will be allowed to present public comment. Please note, your line will be muted at the end of the allotted public comment duration, which is 3 minutes. You'll be notified when you have 30 seconds remaining. Your name is not necessary, but please indicate how you would like us to identify you. For the sake of efficiency, the executive officer will respond directly to public comment or defer to the appropriate staff person or counsel. For questions directed to the board members, I will either answer the question or direct it to the board members. I will now do an alphabetical roll call to establish quorum. Taisha Brown.
Present.
Thank you. Alita Carpenter.
Yes, present.
John Durking.
Good morning, present.
Abraham Hill.
Present.
Adrian Luce.
Present.
Ken Maxey. I know he's going to be late. Nellie Niebles. I believe she's also having technical issues, yes?
Yes, that is correct.
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Tara Rooks.
Tara's here. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. I apologize. And I'm Carol Mountain. Based on the roll call, we have an established quorum. Item 2 is our introduction of the board staff. Ms. Yamaguchi, please introduce yourself and your staff.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Elaine Yamaguchi, Executive Officer. With us today from the staff, Vicki Lyman, our Assistant Executive Officer, Antoinette Wood, our Enforcement Chief, Marie Cordero, our Supervising Nursing Education Consultant, our managers Doris Pierce, Shelley Brown, Jay Prouty, our NECs Judith McLeod, Faith Silverman, Beth DeYoung, Cindy Fairchild, Charlene De La Rosa, and Jessica Gomez, Rebecca Ball, our Legend Regs Analyst, Geraldine Marcino, our Education Analyst, Maggie Archibald, our HR Liaison, and Christine Dano from the Discipline Department Unit. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Yamaguchi. Legal counsel, please introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kenneth Swenson, Attorney 3, Board General Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Swenson. Item 3 is our annual board officer elections. Our general counsel, Mr. Swenson, will facilitate our elections. Mr. Swenson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now is the time and the place for the annual election of officers. Business and Professions Code, Section 2846 requires the members of the board to elect a president and vice president annually at the first board meeting of the calendar year, which is today. The annual election of officers has customarily been conducted by board legal counsel with the unanimous consent of the board. In keeping with past practice and custom, I will be asking for unanimous consent to the election of officers being conducted by board legal counsel as follows. The election of president shall precede the election of vice president. Nominations will be taken from the floor by members of the board. Nominations need not be seconded, but a member may second a nomination to indicate endorsement. A nomination will be deemed an assumed motion that the nominee be elected to office. A separate motion and second shall not be required prior to balloting for the office. After being nominated, nominee shall indicate if they accept the nomination. Once nominations are closed for an office, balloting shall occur for that office by roll call vote. The roll call vote shall proceed in alphabetical order by last name of those members not currently holding office, followed by the current vice president and president, respectively. Each member shall cast their vote by identifying a nominee by name, even if there's only one nominee for that office. The nominee with the majority of ballots cast in their name shall be elected to the office. In the event of a tie vote, balloting shall be repeated until a nominee obtains a majority of ballots cast. Madam Chair, unless there is any objection to proceeding in that manner, I will presume that we have unanimous consent to proceeding with the elections as set forth. Are there any objections?
Mr. Swenson.
There being no objections, I will now accept nominations for the office of President of the Board. Are there any nominations?
This is John here. I'm sorry.
I think we're going in the same direction.
I defer to you, Ms. Carpenter.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Dr. Carol Mountain as president.
Dr. Mountain has been nominated for the office of President. Dr. Mountain, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I will accept the nomination.
Are there any other nominations for the office of President? Any other nominations? There being no further nominations, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Please indicate the nominee by name when you cast your vote. Ms. Brown.
Do I just vote yes, or do I say yes?
Yeah, just state the name of Dr. Mountain if you're voting for her.
Oh, I vote yes for Dr. Mountain.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown votes for Dr. Mountain. Ms. Carpenter.
Dr. Carol Mountain.
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Ms. Carpenter votes for Dr. Mountain. Mr. Hill.
Dr. Carol Mountain.
Thank you. Mr. Hill votes for Dr. Mountain. Ms. Luce.
Dr. Mountain.
Thank you, Ms. Luce. Ms. Luce cast her vote for Dr. Mountain. Mr. Maxey. Mr. Maxey.
I believe he's not here.
Right, so we'll move on. Ms. Needless, how do you cast your vote? Ms.
He's also not here.
All right. Ms. Rooks, how do you cast your vote?
Dr. Mountain.
Thank you. Ms. Rooks cast her vote to Dr. Mountain. Mr. Deerking.
Dr. Mountain.
Thank you, Mr. Deerking. He cast his vote for Dr. Mountain. Dr. Mountain.
I guess I cast my vote for myself.
Thank you. So the votes are cast unanimously for Dr. Mountain. She's elected to another term as president of the board. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The floor is now open for nominations for the office of vice president. Do we have a nomination for the office of vice president?
This is Dr. Carol Mountain. I'd like to nominate Mr. John Durking.
Thank you, Dr. Mountain. Mr. Deerking, do you accept the nomination?
I would accept. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further nominations for the office of vice president? Any further nominations for the office of vice president? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Ms. Brown, how do you cast your vote?
I'd like to vote for Dr. John Durking.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter, how do you cast your vote?
John Deerking.
Thank you. Mr. Hill, how do you cast your vote?
John Deerking.
Thank you. Ms. Luce, how do you cast your vote?
John Deerking, please.
Thank you. Is Mr. Maxey still absent? Has he joined?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Ms. Nieblas, are you present at this time? No. Ms. Rooks, how do you cast your vote?
John Durkin, please.
Thank you, Ms. Rooks. Dr. Mountain, how do you cast your vote?
John Deerking.
Thank you. And Mr. Deerking, how do you cast your vote?
I'll abstain.
Thank you. So we have majority with one abstention in favor of Mr. Deerking. Congratulations. You'll be continuing as the vice president for this year. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That concludes the election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swenson. Appreciate that. Item 4 is the approval of minutes. We have minutes from our November 19, 2021 meeting to approve. Can I have a motion to approve and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, please.
Alita Carpenter, I will second the motion.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion or questions from the board? Hearing none, I will ask, do we have any public comment?
This is, excuse me, this is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this item, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen, type comment, or I would like to make a comment into the text box and submit that to the panelists. If you are a calling user, you may raise your hand by dialing *3. And not seeing any requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
I will do a roll call and establish who is in favor, opposed, or abstains. Ms. Brown.
In favor.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Durking.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Luce.
Yes.
Thank you. Is Mr. Maxey, has he joined? Doesn't.
Not yet.
Ms. Nieblas. Okay, she has not joined either. Ms. Rooks.
Yes.
And I'm Carol Mountain, and I also vote yes. The motion is approved unanimously. We can now move on to item 5A1 and item 5A2, fiscal budgets update from the DCA budget staff. We have Karen Munoz and Bill Lloyd from the DCA Budget Office to provide an update on our fund condition and the governor's 2022-23 budget and answer any questions that board members may have.
Good morning. My name is Bill Lloyd, and I'm a budget analyst with the DCA Budget Office. I want to thank the board and the executive staff for allowing me a few minutes to present the fund condition statement, our revenue and expenditure projections for the current year, and answer your questions. Please refer to item 5A, pages 1 to 3 in the board meeting material. These are the financial documents I will be discussing today. They provide a lot of information on the board's budget, both revenue and expenditures. I would like to highlight some of the information and provide a little bit more clarity. On January 10th, the governor's budget was released, which provided updated budget numbers for the board that included incremental adjustments to the board's current year, 2021 through 22, and the budget year, 2022 through 23, base budget, which was provided at the last board meeting. On page 1 of the document is the board's fund condition statement. We read this document top to bottom and then left to right. The left column is past year, or PY, for 2020 through 2021. The board began 2020 through 21 with an adjusted beginning balance of $4.25 million, collected approximately $17.7 million in revenue, and expended approximately $16.6 million in direct expenditures, plus additional statewide expenditures for a total of $17.9 million. The board ended 2020 through 2021 with close to $4.07 million in reserve balance, or about 2.7 months in reserve. This balance moves from the bottom of this column to the top of the next column and the beginning balance for the next fiscal year. The months in reserve is the amount of time the board can continue normal operations without receiving any revenues. For the column 2021 through 22, this is our current year, or CY. And based on the governor's budget, the board has projected an estimated $18.2 million in revenue. However, as of fiscal month 6, we are projecting the board to collect approximately $17.8 million. This number is estimated to remain stable. However, as a result of AB 1536, new school programs are anticipated to submit new applications, generating additional fees, and these revenues are projected to begin towards the end of this fiscal year or the beginning of next fiscal year. The Budget Office will continue to monitor revenues closely and report back to the board if any significant variances occur. The board's expenditures as of fiscal month 6 are projected to be approximately $18.7 million. This includes $550,000 augmentation for Attorney General and Office of Administrative Hearing enforcement costs that are above the budgeted amount. As with revenue, expenditure projections will change as we enter the second half of the fiscal year. The Budget Office will continue to monitor these expenditures and report back to the board with monthly expenditure projections as future fiscal months close. You will find these figures in more detail on page 2 and 3, which show specific categories totals for expenditures on page 2 and revenues on page 3. You will see for the next couple columns on the fund condition for years 22, 23, or the budget year, BY, and 23 through 24, BY plus 1. These are the new governor budget projections for revenue and expenditures. A few things to note of the board's fund condition. One of the main driving factors to expenditures and the incremental increase in future years is a result of personal service adjustments. These include general salary increases, as well as employee compensation and retirement rate adjustments. The Budget Office includes an ongoing 3% increase to expenditures on the fund condition to account for these ongoing incremental adjustments. New revenues for fees increase voted during the last board meeting are in the regulatory phase and are expected to be in place on 1/1/2023, and therefore these are not reflected in the current fund condition. The fund condition does not include increased enforcement expenditures, which could create additional cost pressures to the board fund in out years. The budget office will continue to work with the board on any future resource needs. As new revenues materialize as a result of the pending regulation for new increased fees and new school fees, we anticipate the fund's reserve balance, which is declining in out years, to begin to increase. And lastly, we would like to note to the board that any future legislation or unanticipated events could result in the board's need for additional resources, which would increase cost pressures on the fund. The budget office will continue to monitor the board's fund condition statement and keep the line of communication with the board's executive staff open for any future needs or expectations. Again, I would like to thank the board and the executive staff for inviting me and the budget office to today's meeting, and we'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you so much for that information. I don't see any hands. Are there any comments from the board? Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I believe that we're ready to move on to item 5A3, review and discussion of board's ongoing structural imbalance. Now we will have a board discussion on our ongoing structural imbalance. This will be the first of many regular discussions for the board. Our Assistant Executive Officer, Vicki Lyman, will provide some background, and then we will open the floor for questions and comments from the board. Ms. Lyman?
Good morning and thank you. In the packet that you received, there was a memo labeled Agenda Item 5A3 with a subject line that Carol just explained to us. Basically, this memo describes the report that I will present at the May 2022 board meeting that focuses on the budget for personnel services. These are the people costs. We feel that this is important that our new board and veteran board members understand the personnel changes made at the board and how those changes impact the way we do business. For example, several changes we made reorganizing the licensing division in October of 2018 decreased backlogs and the number of incoming telephone calls. These are significant as they relate to the board's customer service to our applicants, licensees, and stakeholders. For the August 2022 board meeting, the board would like to present the costs related to the enforcement division. This will be very enlightening and explain the annual Department of Justice budget augmentation. This is just a suggestion for the August 2022 meeting, and it's not set in stone. We would be more than happy to address any concern that the board members may have regarding the budget. So after reading the brief synopsis and receiving the full report in May, we really hope to have a lively discussion at our May board meeting. Any questions right now?
Thank you, Ms. Lyman. I don't see any questions from the board.
Okay, thank you.
We're ready to move on to item 6A. This is the Educational Division Report. Our supervising nursing education consultant, Ms. Marie Cordero, will provide this report. Ms. Cordero?
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. So, committee, you have my division report in your packet. So I wanted to look at that first. And then if you have any questions, I just would like to highlight a couple of things on that division report. We're very happy to, we're progressing very nicely on the initial approval of the new school programs. Yesterday, we completed our last of many trainings with the proposed schools in order to prep them so that they can be prepared and have all their document ready, and the review will go quickly by the NEC. The schools have to turn that in by May 2nd, and then we will have 60 days to process their program. So I'm very happy about that because, well, we had 20 programs who were in cohort 1 who initially began the initial training, and now we are down to 13 programs. So I don't know the final date for them to submit their completed package is May 2nd. So we'll see. I don't know. I expect a few more will probably drop out. They're dropping out for various reasons. One, they cannot find a program director. They don't have someone to do the curriculum. I think they found out it's not just, as easy as they might have thought to just begin a nursing program. So stay tuned for that. That's pretty much our main focus. Kind of going along with that, staff updates, we did receive, we put in a budget change proposal for some additional staff. We did receive the okay. We'll be able to hire an addition 2 nursing education consultants and 1 analyst. So hopefully we'll be able to begin that recruitment process in May. And then lastly, the Organizational Improvement Office, we have received their report. We're in the process of reviewing it, and I will have a presentation ready at the May board meeting for you all to review and we'll share the results with you. So does anybody have any questions on the Education Division report?
No, but Marie, I just want to commend you on all the hard work you've done with these new schools and your patience for helping people learn the process. And I'm kind of sad when I hear that they can't get directors. I mean, that says a lot about what's happening in the world of nursing right now.
Yes, I agree with you. It's true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It causes me great concern. Are there other comments or questions for Ms. Cordero?
Alita Carpenter. Marie, do you have NEC interviews set up? Do you have any hires that you have in mind?
Well, yes and no, Alita. We probably will not be able to start recruitment until May. We have, however, the NECs and myself have sort of, through the grapevine and directors forums have put the word out that to current program directors that we are looking for. We will be hiring nursing education consultants, as well as it's posted on the job line. I mean, there is a website where someone can go, and if they were searching like Cal Careers, they could find that. But we are getting the word out to our current program directors.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Seeing no other comments, we will move on to item number 6, excuse me, 6A1, the review and approval of the EO program decisions. The report is in your packets and the programs and recommendations are listed on the agenda itself. Can I have a motion to approve and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve. This is Adrienne Luce.
Thank you so much, Ms. Luce. Is there a second?
This is Abraham Hill. I'll second.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion or questions from the board? Seeing none, is there any public comment?
This is the moderator. We've opened that Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. type the word comment or the phrase "I would like to make a comment" into the text box and submit that to our panelists. For our call-in users, you may raise your hand by dialing *3. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. I will do a roll call and establish who is in favor, opposed, or abstains.
Dr.
Ms.
Mountain?
Brown? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Swenson?
Yes, I want, for clarification, it would be preferable to have the motion to approve and adopt the executive officer decisions for this period. Would Ms. Lewis and Mr. Abraham be willing to amend their motion accordingly?
Of course. This is Adrian Lewis.
This is Abraham, yes.
So
Thank you, Mr. Swenson.
The motion then is to approve and adopt the executive officer decisions for the period from November 2nd, 2021 to December 30th, 2021. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I will now do a roll call and establish who's in favor, opposed, or abstains. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey? I don't believe he's come on. All right.
He hasn't arrived yet.
Ms. Niebles?
Listening, she's not here yet.
Thank you. Ms. Rooks?
Yes.
And I'm Carol Mountain, and I also say yes. And that means that the motion is approved unanimously. Thank you so much. We will move on to item 6A2, review and discussion and possible action on nursing education consultant recommendations for emergency COVID-19 teaching modalities. Ms. Cordero, will you please provide some background and any updates?
Yes, and I thought we had discussed this and it was approved at the August 2021 meeting. And I didn't think it was going to be, I thought it was going to be taken off the agenda. Am I incorrect?
Ms. Yamaguchi?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the Ms. Cordero is correct that the action was taken at the previous meeting. There was some ongoing ideas that some future developments might occur, so we wanted to have this on the agenda just in case there was something new. But Ms. Cordero has rightly assessed that no further action is needed right at the point.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Then we are free to move on to item 6C, correct? 6B is the Education and Practice Committee report. The committee has not met this quarter, so there is no report. Any public comments?
My apologies, I could not find the button. This is the moderator, and we have opened the Q&A panel. If anybody would like to comment on this item, please find that Q&A icon and type "comment" or "I would like to comment" into the text box, submitting that to our panelists. And our call-in users may raise their hand by dialing *3. And not seeing any requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please, and thank you.
It is closed.
We will now move on to program reports from the NECs. Item 6C, reconsideration of provisional approval. With apologies to the board and the audience, this next item was inadvertently placed in this section. It is not a reconsideration, it is a request to admit students. So that would be Healthcare Career College Vocational Nursing Program Ms. Della Rosa is the NEC. Ms. Della Rosa, is there any new or additional information to your report?
No, that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Can I have a motion to approve and a second?
John Deerking will move to adopt the NEC's recommendation on this item.
Taisha Brown seconds.
Thank you so much. Is there any comment from representatives of the program?
The representative of the program is not currently present.
Thank you. Any board discussion or questions? Seeing none, any public comment?
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on that Q&A icon on the screen, type comment, or I would like to comment into the text field, submitting that to our panelists. For our call-in users, you may raise your hand by dialing *3. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Please.
It is closed.
Thank you. I will take a roll call vote at this time to see who approves. Ms. Brown.
Yes.
You, Ms. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Durking.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Luce.
Yes.
Mr. Maxey. Still not present. Ms. Niebles.
Yes.
Thank you. So glad you're here. Ms. Rooks.
I made it.
Ms. Rooks. Ms. Rooks. Has she been kicked off somehow?
It looks like she has fallen off. I'm watching for her to return.
Okay, we'll move forward then. And I'm Carol Mountain, and I vote yes. The motion is approved unanimously. Let's move on to number 2. This is Los Angeles Unified School District. Maxine Waters, Preparatory Center, Vocational Nursing Program. Dr. Fairchild is the NEC. Dr. Fairchild, is there any new or additional information to your report?
No, Dr. Mountain, I do not have anything additional. I would like to compliment the program, the director, and administration for their hard work in correcting the violations and showing a commitment to excellence in education and nursing. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve and a second?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this. This is Taisha Brown.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brown. Is there a second?
Abraham Hill is second.
Thank you. Is there any comment from the representative of the program?
Good morning. Hello?
Good morning. We can hear you.
Okay, this is Agnes Padilla, Program Director of LAUSD Maxine Waters Employment Preparation Center. We would like to thank Dr. Fairchild for all the guidance and support, and we are sincerely appreciate her effort and also advice, even at night and even weekends. Thank you so much, Dr. Fairchild. That's it.
Is there any board discussion or questions? Any public comment?
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this school, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, typing comment or I would like to comment into the text field and submit that to our panelists. For our call-in users, you may dial *3 to raise your hand. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. I will do a roll call and establish who is in favor, opposed, or abstains. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Luz?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey? Still not here. Ms. Nieblis?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Rooks?
Yes, I got my connection back. Thank
Oh,
you.
so glad. And I'm Carol Mountain. I also vote yes. That's passed unanimously. We will now move on to item 6D. Request to admit students. Cypress College Psychiatric Technician Program. Dr. McLeod is the NEC. Dr. McLeod, is there any new or additional information to your report?
There is no new additional information for the report.
Thank you so much. Can I have a motion to approve and a second?
Alita Carpenter, move to approve.
Thank you.
Ms. Luce will second it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Ken Swenson here. The recommended form of motion would be to approve and adopt.
Thank you. Do we need to have them say if that's okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I move to approve and adopt.
And Ms. Luce will second it to approve and adopt.
Is there any comment from representatives of the program?
I don't believe the program director is here.
Okay. Any board discussion or questions? Any public comment?
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel is open. To request a comment, please click on the Q&A icon, type comment or I would like to comment into the text field and submit that to our panelists. For our call-in users, you may raise your hand by dialing *3. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
We will now do a roll call vote to establish who is in favor of approval and adoption. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Luz?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey? We'll move on. Ms. Nieblis?
Yes.
Ms. Rooks?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
And I'm Carol
Sorry.
Mountain. Thank you. I also vote yes. It's moved and approved, approve and adopt unanimously. All right, we will now move on to Southeast Career College Vocational Nursing Program. Ms. Della Rosa is the NEC. Ms. Della Rosa, is there any new or additional information to your report?
No, there's no additional information.
Thank you so much. Can I have a motion to approve and a second?
Alita Carpenter, move to approve and adopt NEC's recommendations.
Abraham Hill to second the approval and the adoption.
Thank you. Is there any comment from representative of the program?
So Edna Domingo, you have two connections. I will need you to close one of them to eliminate the echo.
There's an echo.
Moderator, is she going to be able to speak to us?
Edna Domingo, if you can try again, you'll need to close one of your connections. You're connected twice. And we're not going to be able to hear you because of the echo.
Okay. Ms. Yamaguchi, would it be all right for us to just move on? Or Mr. Swenson, I'm not sure what to do here since we can't.
There's a motion pending, and there can be a procedural motion to lay this motion on the table and proceed, and again, come back to it later.
Okay, so we'll this motion on the table and we'll come back to it so that Ms. Domingo can speak to us when she gets her connection fixed.
That's a procedural motion. Someone have to make and second, and it would be a roll call vote without debate.
Okay, all right. Do we want to give Ms. Domingo one more chance to see if she can speak to us?
So, Ms. Domingo?
I'm here.
Okay, so Ms. Domingo, we have a really, really bad echo because you have two connections into the meeting right now. So what I would actually recommend is if you cannot isolate one of the connections to close it and disconnect it, I would recommend completely hanging up from the meeting and then rejoining. Because at this point with the echo, we're not going to be able to hear you.
Madam Chair, I recommend that you invite a motion to lay this motion on the table, proceed with the items, and return to this matter after she's had a chance to reconnect.
Thank you, Mr. Swenson. Do I have a motion for this?
John Deerking would so move.
Thank you. And a second?
Alita Carpenter.
Thank you. And Mr. Swenson, we do a roll call vote now, correct?
That's correct. It's not a debatable motion, so you can proceed to a roll call vote.
Thank you so much. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey?
Should I, does this mean no more direct?
Ms. Neeblis? Ms. Neeblis may have been.
Ms. Neeblis, you are muted.
No?
With no excuses or anything.
Yeah.
Yes, I said.
To these procedures.
Right.
Ms. Neeblis?
Could I be heard now? Am I
Yes.
being heard? Yes.
Yes. And Ms. Rooks?
Like I shared with
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm Carol Mountain and I vote yes. This motion is approved unanimously. We will move forward and come back to this when the director is able to reconnect. Item 6E is next. Request to admit students. CNI Vocational Nursing Program. Dr. Fairchild is the nursing education consultant. Dr. Fairchild, is there any new or additional information to your report?
There is no additional information. I would like to compliment the program on their outreach program and working with past graduates to increase their pass rates.
Thank you so much. Can I have a motion to approve and a second?
Ms. Luce will
I
make a
motion.
motion to approve.
Thank you.
Nellie Nieves makes a motion to second.
Thank you. Is there any comment from representatives of this program?
Hello, good morning. This is Annabelle Velasco, the Program Director of CNI College. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our NEC, Dr. Fairchild, the board, and the executive staff for the recommendation, and also for giving CNI College the opportunity to start a new cohort. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any board discussion or questions?
This is Ms. Luce. I would just like to commend them for the being 15 percentage points above the state average annual pass rate.
Thank you so much. Any other comments? And is there any public comment?
This is the moderator. We've again opened that Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this one, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment or I would like to comment into the text field and submit that to our panelists. Our call-in users may raise their hand by dialing *3. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. We will now do a roll call vote to approve and adopt the recommendations. Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Durking.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Luce.
Yes.
Mr. Maxey. Not here. Ms. Nieblis.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Rooks.
Yes.
And I'm Carol Mountain. I vote yes. It's approved unanimously. All right, we will now move on to Premier College Vocational Nursing Program. Dr. Fairchild is the nursing education consultant. Dr. Fairchild, is there any new or additional information to your report?
Thank you, Dr. Mountain. Yes, I do have additional information related to the violation that is at the end of the report. On February 8th, 2022, I received documents from the program director related to the program's admission of 22 students who scored below the required score of 50% on the TEAS entrance assessment. The submitted document stated that the school decided to give the students who scored below 50 but who did well on their other assessment tools a chance to get into the program proper but under strict observation and remediation. The program's approved screening and selection criteria states the director of admissions with the guidance of the director of vocational nursing has the responsibility of reviewing and approving all applications for admission to ensure proper qualification in accordance with the college's admission standards. Students who do not qualify for admission are notified promptly. The screening and selection are very specific that students must meet qualifications for admission standards, and students who do not qualify admission are not enrolled. Therefore, the program is now, in addition to the admission policy, the program is now in violation of Section 2526A13 of Title 16 of the California Code of Regulations, as they are not following their own screening and selection criteria.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fairchild.
You're welcome.
Can I have a motion to approve and a second?
Alita Carpenter, move to approve and adopt.
Thank you so much.
Report.
Can I have a second?
Abraham Hill to approve and adopt.
Thank you.
Second.
Is there any comment from representatives of the program?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mr. Bernie Malabanan. I'm the program director for Premier Career College. I would like to thank Dr. Fairchild for her guidance and support in approving this request to admit students.
Are there any comments from the board or discussion or questions? I have a few, but I would like to let the board go first. All right, seeing none, I wanted to ask the representative that going back to what Dr. Fairchild just said, there have been multiple studies linking TEAS scores to program completion and NCLEX pass rates, both for RNs and LVNs. The latest one for LVNs was done in 2017. It indicates clearly that students need to score 63.89 on the TEAS 5 in order to have success in program completion and on passing NCLEX. Your entrance qualifications state that students need to score 50%, which is way below that 63.89. And I noticed that you had students coming in whose T scores were 24.7. So with a score that low, it's a pretty clear indicator that this student probably won't pass the NCLEX. And I'm wondering why you're allowing students to come into the program that most likely will not pass the NCLEX, should be struggling to complete the program. And then we're seeing that they're completing the program, but they're unable to pass the exit exam. So then they're never considered completers. I'm really struggling with these concepts, and I'm hoping that you can clear this up for me so I have a better understanding of how you're able to do this with students when they're probably never going to pass NCLEX.
Okay, thank you for that question, Dr. Mountain. So historically, those two, our current records are based on students who did not have TEAS in the past. We only started accepting students who are passers of TEAS this June, and we have not really evaluated that yet. So just to provide you information on our current NCLEX pass rate, our fourth quarter pass rate is 100%. Seven of the 7 students that we had taken the NCLEX passed all of those, and that is through the support of our faculty. We provide review at no cost to our graduates. We require them to take the comprehensive predictor and VATI green light as 2 of the requirements to be considered graduates. And just an update, two of the 2 graduates that we have this year, it may not be reflected in the report yet, has passed the NCLEX.
But so, sir, wait a minute. You only had 7 students take the NCLEX. How many students were in that class? How many students should have taken the NCLEX who came in and were in that cohort?
That was the cohort 54. 14 students of that cohort were able to pass as graduates. And 9 of them have already taken the NCLEX, and all of them have passed, while the remaining 5 are still currently taking their VATI review and seeing our reviewer, our resident faculty, and seeing them on a regular basis to help them prepare for the NCLEX.
And are you charging them additional tuition to have to do that? Because
No,
they're
ma'am.
considered non-completers.
No, ma'am. We provide the review, individualized review. They see our faculty in charge for the review on a weekly basis at no cost.
And how much is the cost of your program, sir?
If you would see our letter of appeal, we charge around 32,000. That is everything, including the program, all the reviews that they get after completing the program. That also includes the ATI, utilization of ATI, board vitals, all the modules in ATI, and the VATI program.
And students cannot be considered completers unless they pass your exit exam. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. So currently we have two requirements to be considered graduates. They have to pass the comprehensive predictor exam and they have to achieve a VATI green light to make sure that they are considered graduate.
So then I come right back to my original question, which is you're letting students in with a T-score of 24.7 when their chances of ever passing that exit exam or passing NCLEX is statistically very low. And it really concerns me. You have other programs there at Premier, but I believe that the LVN program you have is the only one that sits for a board. Is that correct?
We also have like surgical technology, surgical tech program that sits for a certification exam.
Certification exam. So this really concerns me, though, that we have this faction of students that are coming in that really kind of have the deck stacked against them, and they're paying $32,000 when there's a good chance that they will never be completers of your program and will never sit for NCLEX.
This violation actually has been corrected. In December, in consultation with Dr. Fairchild, we actually did not admit students who did not pass the T's.
And are you considering passing the T's at 50%?
We would consider putting it based on your recommendation at 63.89%.
Dr. Fairchild, can you address any of this as well?
Thank you, Dr. Mountain. The violation has not been corrected. The third class of admission he is correct. All of those students met the requirements. However, the violation was not identified until after those students were admitted. Therefore, the violation has not been corrected at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Fairchild. Are there other questions from the board? I actually have one more question. I want to know how many students have graduated during this last year that are considered non-graduates?
We have 10 students. 10 students are non-graduates and 14 are graduates.
And 14 are graduates. And of those 14, you're saying 9 have taken the NCLEX and passed?
Yes. 9 out of 9 right now as of the current. And the rest of those graduates are still doing a VATI program to prepare for their NCLEX. So right now, those last 14 graduates, we are currently at 100%.
And yes, but how many of those students that are considered non-graduates are testing through method 3?
All of them.
So none of them would show up on your NCLEX scores the way it's currently put, because it is only completers that show up. Isn't that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So it really makes you guys look really good.
Yes, ma'am. Currently, they are also undergoing reviews. Even they are non-graduates, we provide intensive review for them at no cost.
But they could still take the NCLEX multiple times through method 3, and it would never affect the way your school appears with their graduates, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are there other questions from the board?
This is board member Abraham Hill. I do have, I think I'm seeking clarification here because I might have misheard Director Malabanan. He was thanking the board for the approval, but if I look back at the NEC recommendations, it's to deny the request to admit that full-time evening class. Am I looking at this wrong?
May I respond to that, Dr. Mountain?
Please, Dr. Fairchild.
Thank you. The recommendation is to deny the full-time class and to recommend closure of the program effective immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fairchild. That's what I thought.
Are there other questions from the board?
Dr. Mountain,
Yes.
may we have an opportunity to read our appeal letter to the board, which we sent last February 14? Would you please allow me to read a significant portion of the appeal letter to show that we are committed to providing quality education to our students, and Premier College has been serving the community in the past 20 years. 30 years.
You may read your letter.
Okay, thank you. So first, I would like to thank the board for the opportunity to speak before this assembly. We also would like to thank Dr. Fairchild for her guidance and commitment to quality education. Our institution did not agree with the NEC recommendation. Would you please allow me to share a copy of the appeal letter? We sent it to the board, and we requested it to be distributed to the board members as well.
Mr. Swenson, can you please direct me on this?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are restrictions on the timeliness of documents to be presented to the board. And in light of the fact that this presentation may cause a delay in the busy board agenda, it might be a wise choice for the board to consider referring this matter to the Education and Practice Committee for recommendation at the May board meeting. I anticipate that reading the letter and the various exhibits into the record would result in an undue consumption of time at today's board meeting. Thank you.
So are you recommending that we not have him read the letter?
I think it would cause an undue consumption of time. It would be inappropriate at the board meeting, and that if he wants to address these issues in as much detail as is indicated, it should be referred to the Education and Practice Committee and brought before the board at the next regular board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swenson. That's how we'll proceed then. Mr. Swenson, so would the next thing be to ask for any public comment?
Referral to the committee is at the chair's discretion, so there's no need for public comment since there is not a motion necessary.
All right.
Dr. Mountain?
Yes.
May I allow the school president to speak before this assembly? Just give a few statements.
Mr. Swenson, that's considered appropriate, yes?
It's within the chair's discretion to allow this.
All right, under the same time constraints that we other people who speak, so yes.
Thank you, Dr. Mountain. So I'm presenting the school owner, Dr. Fel Dabico Aragon, to make some few statements about this matter.
Bountiful blessings to everyone, and thank you for allowing me to address this board. I just want to make some clarifications, and I want to reiterate that our school has been in operation serving this community for the last 30 years. Our vocational nursing program has been in operation also serving the community for the last 18 years. And I would like to explain further the program. I don't think that everybody is really aware of how the entire program is. We have before our students go into the nursing proper, we have a 3-month, we call it the pre-vocational nursing program, where the students are actually taught anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, medical terminology, and mathematics, so that they can be ready for the vocational nursing proper training. That is also part of our assessment. So students go rigidly into these 3 months, and they have to pass that course with a score of 80% in order to be considered admission into the nursing proper. This is also included, the expenses that are incurred in this 3-month pre-vocational nursing is included in our tuition fee. So the tuition fee that was being discussed here includes everything, their books, whatever review materials, softwares, everything that they will need in order for them to succeed into the program. I did not expect that after 31 years, we will be in this situation where a program that we feel we have been helping our community with, especially during this pandemic, being frontliners and, putting their lives on the line to help their fellow person. I never expected that, we will be placed in this situation where someone will just put the plug off or kill us just because of one violation about one assessment that is actually new and is not necessarily the only way that you can determine whether a student will really be successful. However, my plea before you pull the plug, which is so sad, is please bear in mind there are students who will be affected, students who you will remove their hope. They're here because they want to help their community. They're here to put their lives on the line during this pandemic. Bear in mind also that there are instructors, there are members of the staff who put their lives on the line every day so that we can help our community. Please bear that in mind before you kill this program that we work very hard for every day. Not because of us, but because of our community. Please. Not only that, I have one request. If you so decide to pull that plug, to kill us, to kill that program that we love so much, explain to us why. Why are you doing this? Why? Is it just because of one lousy, which you are saying is a very important means that we have to do, that is, that ATI? Why? Why are you doing this? I mean, who are we, to just not consider
Thank
the
you.
hard work?
Thank you for
Thank you, and God bless all of you. God bless us. Thank you so much.
Dr. Fairchild, could you please address what would happen to the students if the program was closed?
Yes, I can. First, I would like to comment. Since 2014, there have been 4 violations of failing to meet their admission policy, 3 violations failing to follow the screening and selection criteria, and 3 violations failing to appropriately utilize faculty members, additional faculty and teacher assistant properly, along with other violations, but these are continued violations over the last several years. In the event the program is to close, it would be, other programs would readily come in to help and support, as well as the BPPE. There are 11 7 programs within close proximity. 5 of these programs are within 5.5 miles. El Monte Adult School is 3.6 miles away. Hacienda La Puente Adult Education is 3.6 miles away. Northwest College is 4.6 miles away. Rio Hondo Community College is 5.4 miles. So there are a lot of resources and a lot of programs close by within the community.
Thank you, Dr. Fairchild.
Hi, Dr. Mountain. May I please speak?
No.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, Elaine Yamaguchi here. May I first address procedurally? There is already a motion on the floor to accept and adopt the NEC's recommendations. And Dr. Fairchild actually just clarified her recommendations a bit ago. So to refer, I believe you would need the makers and second of the motion to withdraw that. But secondly, well, actually, let me just stop right there.
Thank you, Ms.
Mr.
Yamaguchi.
Swenson?
I was just going to
Mr.
ask
Swenson,
Mr. Swenson,
am I correct in this?
How we should proceed.
To facilitate the approval, the maker and the second of the motion may withdraw the motion. Alternatively, there could be a motion to lay the pending motion on the table.
So we would need a motion to go ahead and lay the pending motion on the table, or we need a motion to withdraw it. Is that correct?
Statement that they withdraw the motion, and then the matter can be referred to committee if that's the chair's desire.
Or we can go ahead and vote on it here, correct?
That's correct.
That is correct.
There's been adequate opportunity for comment.
And there was a very complete report from Dr. Fairchild. Unless the board views otherwise, I would like to go ahead and move forward with the motion that's on the table. So I see no comments. So Mr. Swenson, would the next thing be to open it up to any public comment?
That's correct. So the pending motion for clarification is to approve and adopt the recommendations of the nursing education consultant.
Yes, thank you. Can we open for public comment, please?
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. For our call-in users, you may dial *3 to raise your hand. Our first comment comes from Jeanette. Jeanette, I'm going to send a request to unmute your microphone, and you will need to click the unmute me button at your end for it to actually unmute. And as a reminder, you will have 3 minutes to make your comment.
My name is Jeanette.
We are not able to hear you. Could you speak closer to your microphone, please?
Yeah, okay. My name is Jeanette. Can you hear me now?
That's a little bit better.
Yeah, my name is Jeanette, and I'm a mother of a student here at Premier, and I also work here at Premier Career College. My plea, just in case Dr. Fairchild and the board, if you could please let our current students finish. That's my only plea. If you really want to close down the VN program, we have students that that are already in the program, and they're about to graduate this end of the year. We already disbursed their financial aid. And my daughter, I have not told her about this board meeting. I'm scared. And tomorrow she's going to have a clinical. She's 18 years old, and she's so excited. And I'm pretty sure that if she found out about this, it would totally, it would be a devastating blow for her. So please, I beg, I know you don't understand how I feel because you're not in the position, but as a mom, if you could please let our current students finish, that's my only plea. Please. If you want to totally shut down the school, is fine. But the current students, let them finish and graduate. discipline I have. Please have mercy on us. Just for the current students, please. Please, they're already almost graduating this end of this year and they don't know anything about this. No, they don't know anything. Just begging you.
Thank you. Our next comment comes from Teresa. Teresa, I've sent the request to unmute your microphone.
Speak as a parent today. I myself am a graduate of this school, graduated 19 years ago, and given the privilege to witness the great success of many, many graduates from Premier. And once again, my family has chosen Premier College for my daughter's education. Now currently taking the nursing program with our home school, Premier Career College. Because just like many other parents in this community, we strongly believe in the mission of this school to help individuals like us to make a difference in the community. I have no words to express how my daughter, just like all her classmates and students, feel right now enlightened and excited about their future career at Premier halfway through the program and how happy they are close to graduating from this school. As a parent, I humbly ask each member of this board to please take into consideration the emotional effect that all these students will have with the decision that taken today from each and one of you. As a member of this community, as a parent, we strongly believe that the future of all these students belongs here at Premier Career College, where quality education matters. Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no additional requests for comment, would you like me to close the panel?
Hi, this is Lisa, and I'm also a senior staff of Premier Career College. Good morning to everyone, members of the board. I see we work hard on this school, and all the violation that has been said has been corrected and demonstrated. That has corrected all previous violation cited for placing the school on provisional statistics, has corrected recent admission valuation for TEAS, has adequate faculty and facilities, and has improved the NCLEX pass rates. These are the concerns that we have, that because of that simple TEAS violation, the easy recommendation is not justified to revoke the provisional approval of Premier Career College Vocational Nursing Program. Previously, all the violations that has been done has been corrected and accepted by the NEC. Just because of this TEAS, I know it was one of the five quality criteria before the student can be admitted. This is the only one. They have the 3-month, they have the Wonderlic, they have the BN test, they have the interview of the DON before they can get into the program. They have 5 criteria. Only one TEAS violation, you have to close the program. I've been working here 25 years. I never see this kind of problem except for this. We have to be a little bit compassionate, because this is the time that we have a lot. The world is in turmoil right now. Adding this kind of recommendation will add more stress to the whole Premier family. The NCLEX pass rate is the major part that we have to look into, and we need it. And if you said artificially, this is not artificially done. Within the 10%. Why is it that for such simple things, you have to close the program? Do you have a heart?
Madam Chair, this is Ken Swenson.
Yes.
The program representatives have had a full and fair opportunity to present their position on this matter.
Thank you.
It would be redundant to allow additional members of the faculty or staff to make comments on behalf of the program. Unless there are members of the public wishing to comment, the comment period may be closed and it could proceed to roll call vote at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's close the comments from the public unless there is someone who is not affiliated with the school. And we will proceed to a roll call vote after it is closed.
There were no more comments. I have closed the panel.
Thank you so much. We will now take a roll call vote on the motion to accept the NEC's report.
The pending motion is to accept and adopt the recommendations of the NEC.
Thank you so much. Accept and adopt the recommendations of the NEC. Ms. Brown?
Abstain.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey? He's still not here. Okay. Ms. Niebles?
Yes.
One, you all got it in the back, right? This one is a union. You know the
Ms. Rooks?
you know the
Yes.
And I am also a yes. 7. There were 7 yeses and 1 abstain. This motion is approved. We will now move on to item 6F. Did the director from the other school, it doesn't look like she ever made it on either.
She actually is with us.
Oh, let's close that out if we can, if that's all right. Can we go back to that and allow her to speak? That was item.
Madam Chair,
I believe.
That is item 6D2, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Can we go back to item 6D2, please? And allow the director from that program to speak?
Ms. Domingo, you are connected. You have control of your microphone. Ms. Domingo, I'm sending you a request to unmute your microphone. I believe it's *6 to unmute.
Hello?
There we go.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me? Oh, thank you so much. I apologize for technical problems on my end. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the board. I requested for a replacement class for our students graduating in April. I had requested for a class of 20 plus 2 alternates. And I would appreciate if the board would give us a chance to start that class to replace the graduating class.
Thank you very much. Is there any board discussion or questions? All right, seeing none, is there any public comment?
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to comment on this school, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, submitting that to our panelists. And for our call-in users, you may dial *3 to raise your hand. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll do a roll call vote to approve and adopt the recommendations of the NEC. Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Durking.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Luce.
Yes.
Mr. Maxey. Still not here. Ms. Neeblis.
Yes.
And setting up stuff and all this stuff.
Ms. Rooks.
Yes.
And I'm Carol Mountain. I vote yes. That is approved unanimously. At this time, I would like to allow the board members to take a 10-minute break, and we will actually 12 minutes. We will resume at 10:45. All right, we are ready to reconvene. It is 10:45. We will resume with item 6F, consideration of provisional approval. Advanced College Salida Vocational Nursing Program. Ms. Silverman is the education consultant.
Madam Chair, that report was pulled.
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is Ken Swenson, Board Counsel. It's been requested that this item and the following item be dropped from the agenda.
Mr. Swenson, when we do that, do we have to make any public comment from that?
No?
Okay, so we just drop them.
It can be dropped and then it can be placed on a future agenda either at the committee, that is the Education and Practice Committee, or a future board meeting.
All right, thank you very much. Let's do that. So we will move on to item 7A, which is the Executive Officer's Report. Ms. Yamaguchi.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And let me first congratulate you and Mr. Durking on your reelection and say how happy the staff and I are to have the chance to work with you in this capacity for another year. And actually, let me also apologize for the issue with the cameras. We were all very excited to log on with the cameras, and unfortunately, the technical difficulties, which seem to be all over the place, have prevented us all from doing so. But I did want to thank Ms. Luce for being a good sport and having her camera on as the lone holdout. First off, let me just say that I know the board members have received my written report, and I'd be happy to pause here if there are any questions on that yet. No? Okay. Then let me move directly into 7A. As you'll recall, board members, you'll recall that we did approve these documents that are necessary to implement our sunset bill, AB 1536. The board did review and discuss these in November, but now that was prior to the point when the law took effect on January 1st, and on advice of council, we have brought these back for a final ratification. I believe we need to go number by number. So, Madam Chair, I would put Bulletin 1 on the floor for consideration.
And Madam Chair, the recommended form of motion would be to ratify the adoption of the bulletin. Ratify the approval of the bulletin and to adopt it. So we would be ratifying the previous approval and adopting the bulletin at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swenson. So is our next move, we're going to do this one by one. Bulletin number 1, we need to have a motion to ratify approval and adopt the bulletin. Is that correct?
That's
yes, ma'am.
All right. So could I have a motion, please?
Abraham Hill, to make the motion to ratify the approval of the bulletin and then adopt it. Bulletin 1.
Taisha Brown, second.
Thank you. Any board discussion or questions? Seeing none, any public comment?
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this motion, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment, or I would like to make a comment into the text field and submit that to our panelists. For our call-in users, you may dial *3 to raise your hand. Our first comment comes from Jenny Johnson. Jenny, I've sent the request to unmute your microphone. As a reminder, you'll have 3 minutes.
Morning. Good morning, President Mountain, Vice President Durkee, board members, and Ms. Yamaguchi. My name is Jenny Johnson, Vice President of Government Relations for Calbright College. I'd like to speak to item 7 as it relates to the recently released draft bulletin. My colleagues and I were admittedly disappointed to learn that the actual approval of the bulletin will limit new applications to schools already on the wait list. This is unfortunate because we are in the process of preparing and ultimately submitting an application for consideration. As way of background, Calbright College was established by then Governor Brown and the legislature in the 2018 Budget Act. It's the first online competency-based community college. As a community college, we believe we can offer a quality, statewide, and low-cost program for prospective students. Given the need for flexibility, we can meet students where they are and allow them to progress at a pace that works for them. Given the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, we believe flexibility and affordability for our students must be emphasized. Allowing additional institutions to apply for approval is a critical piece of the puzzle for addressing the ongoing healthcare workforce staffing crisis, which has been compounded by the pandemic, all of which you know. Respectfully, we would ask the board to reconsider its review of new interested institutions seeking BVMPT board approval. Thank you.
Thank you. And seeing no additional requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
At this time, we will take a vote on whether to ratify approval and adopt the bulletin. Ms. Brown?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey? Not present. Ms. Niebles? Is Ms. Niebles still with us?
She is. She's muted.
Okay. Let's move up. Ms. Rooks?
Yes.
Thank you. And I am also a yes. That's 7 yes votes. And the motion is approved. Let's move on to Bulletin 2, the new fees for education programs. Mr. Swenson, do we need comment on this, or we just can move through these smoothly? As far as we go for a motion, and then we have the board, and then any public comment. Should Ms. Yamaguchi discuss each one of these bulletins?
I think that it can proceed by motion,
Okay.
board comment, and public comment.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, then do we have a motion to ratify approval and adopt the bulletin for bulletin number 2?
John Deerking would so move.
Thank you.
Alicia Carpenter, second.
Thank you. Any board discussion or questions? Seeing none, any public comments?
This is the moderator. We've again opened that Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this bulletin, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Our call-in users may dial *3 to raise their hand. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
We will now do a roll call vote to ratify approval and adopt the bulletin. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey? Still not with us. Ms. Niebles?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Rooks?
Yes.
And I'm Carol Mountain, and I vote yes. So that motion is approved by a vote of 8, which is unanimous. We will move on to Bulletin 3, Letter of Intent to Submit Application for Initial Approval of New School Program for Proposed Programs Currently on the Waiting List. Can I have a motion?
Actually, Madam Chair, if I could offer a very brief observation. Board members, we had sent out a revised draft on this to make a small change, but we cannot actually make that change just now. So what I would ask of the board is to ratify approval and to adopt the letter of intent as initially submitted, not the preliminary draft we had suggested a day or two ago.
So, Mr. Swenson, how would we phrase that, please?
By ratifying the previous approval and adopting the item as it previously came before the board, it would solve the problem.
Okay.
And then the issue of any sort of revision or correction of it can be taken up at a later time. So what the board is considering is the version of the document or item that came before the board at the last regular board meeting.
Okay. Do I have a motion to ratify approval and adopt the bulletin that previously came before the board?
Alicia Carpenter, so moved.
Thank you.
Abraham Hill is second.
Thank you. Any board discussion or questions? Seeing none, can we open it for public comment, please?
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel is open. To comment on this letter, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type in comment or I would like to comment into the text field. Submit that to our panelists. Our call-in users may dial *3 to raise their hand. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Please.
It is closed.
So, Madam Chair, the motion pending before the board is to ratify the approval and adopt the letter of intent to submit application for initial approval of new school program for proposed programs currently on waiting list that came before the board in November of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now do a roll call vote on that very thing. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey? He's not here. Ms. Nieblis?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Rooks?
Yes.
And I'm Carol Mountain, and I vote yes. It is unanimously approved. We can move forward to initial program application instructions, vocational nursing program.
Madam Chair, Elaine Yamaguchi here. For this item and for item 7A5, these are also corrected drafts that we had sent the board with what we believe is a very non-substantive correction. It basically strikes the reference to attached samples which are not being asked for. We do believe this is it's a non-substantive change that could be adopted at this time with the concurrence of the board. Mr. Swenson, did you want to comment on this?
The samples were inadvertently left off previously, so it would not be a substantive change in my view to just strike that language from the documents. In addition, with respect to references to code and regulation for psychiatric technicians, there were some typographical or technical errors that would be non-substantive that could be corrected. Specifically, that the code and regulatory sections cited in the psychiatric technician items actually were from the Vocational Nursing Practice Act, and they should be swapped out with appropriate counterparts in the psychiatric technician law as indicated in the revised version that was posted and sent out to the board members.
So Mr. Swenson, would we still be approving to, the approval would still be ratify approval and adopt the bulletin?
As suggested to be amended, I believe.
Yeah, probably the cleanest way to go, although it may be more time consuming, would be to ratify the approval and adopt and then do a motion to correct as separate motions.
So you want to, the first one would be to ratify the approval and adopt the bulletin, and then to do an approval of the corrected draft. Is that correct?
That's correct, as separate motions.
Okay. Do I have a motion to ratify approval and adopt the bulletin?
Alita Carpenter, so moved.
Thank you.
Ms. Luce will second that motion.
Thank you. Any board discussion or questions? Any public comment?
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to comment on this motion, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment or I would like to make a comment into the text field and submit that to our panelists. Our call-in users may raise their hand by dialing *3. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
We will now do a roll call vote to ratify approval and adopt the bulletin. Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Durking.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Luce.
Yes.
Mr. Maxey. Okay. Ms. Niebles.
Yes.
Another piece that you'll be part of will be the arbitration review panel.
Ms. Rooks.
The members.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Carol Mountain. I say yes. It is unanimously passed. Now, Mr. Swenson, we need a motion to approve the corrected draft. Is that correct?
Well, for this particular item, Madam Chair, the change is substantive in that it strikes the term waiting list from the title. And so that one would have to be taken up at the special meeting after the revised version is posted.
No, Mr. Swenson. I think you're looking at the LOI as well.
Yes.
I believe that item was already.
Yeah, Ms. Yamaguchi is correct. I pulled up the wrong item. So the changes that are highlighted with strikeout in the revised version are all non-substantive in nature and can be taken up at this time. So the motion would be to approve the revised version of the initial program application instructions for vocational nursing program.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I so move. Nieblas.
Thank you.
Alita Carpenter, second.
Thank you. Any board discussion or questions? Any public comment?
This is the moderator. If you'd like to comment on this motion, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen, typing comment or I would like to make a comment into the text field and submitting that to our panelists. Our call-in users may dial *3 to raise their hand. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
I would. Thank you so much.
It is closed.
And we will now take a roll call vote to adopt the corrected drafts. Ms. Brown.
Yes.
Ms. Carpenter.
Yes.
Mr. Durkee.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Ms. Luce.
Yes.
Mr. Maxey. Not present. Ms. Niebles.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Rooks.
Yes.
And I'm Carol Mountain. I vote yes. That is approved unanimously. We can now move on to Bulletin 5, initial program application, instructions for psychiatric technician program. Ms. Yamaguchi, we just need a motion on this, correct? Or Mr. Swenson?
No, Madam Chair. This is procedurally the same as the item you just took action on. Mr. Swenson had pointed out that this document has code references corrected and other references that should be specific to the psych text that were mistakenly referring to the specifics for the vocational nursing, as well as the deletion of the attached samples, which will be omitted. But again, procedurally, this would be the same motion and then move to accept the corrected draft.
All right, so I need a motion to ratify approval and adopt the bulletin.
The form, not the bulletin, please.
Apologize.
Alita Carpenter, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Abraham Hill seconds.
Thank you. Any board discussion or questions? Seeing none, any public comment?
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to comment on this motion, please use that Q&A icon to access the text box. Send the word comment or I would like to make a comment to our panelists, and our call-in users can raise their hand by dialing *3. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
I would, thank you.
It is closed.
We will do a roll call vote to ratify and approve. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey? Not present. Ms. Neeblis?
Yes.
Ms. Rooks?
Yes.
I'm Carol Mountain. I vote yes. It is unanimously approved. So now, Mr. Swenson, we need to do the same thing where we have a motion to accept the corrected drafts. Is that correct?
That's correct, Madam Chair.
Do I have a motion to approve and adopt the corrected drafts?
Madam Chair, at this point, it cannot be adopted. It can only be accepted because it hasn't been posted for the full 30 days.
Thank you. So it would be a motion to approve and accept the corrected drafts.
Alita Carpenter, so moved.
Thank you.
Rook, second.
Thank you. Any board discussion or questions? Seeing none, any public comment?
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to comment, use that Q&A icon to send the word comment or the phrase, I would like to make a comment to our panelists. And for our call-in users, if you'd like to make a comment, you can dial *3 to raise your hand. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. And we will now do a roll call vote on the corrected drafts. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey? Ms. Niebles?
Yes.
Ms. Rooks?
Yes.
I'm Carol Mountain. I also vote yes. That is approved unanimously. We will now move on to item 6. Application for initial approval of new school programs, vocational nursing.
Madam Chair, the next 3 items would just be to ratify the previous approval.
Mr. Swenson, do they each need to be done separately?
In the interest of time, they can be taken up by one motion. The motion would be to ratify the approval and adopt the items.
Can I have a motion to ratify and approve? Can I say items 6, 7, and 8?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Alita Carpenter, so moved.
Thank you. We
Abraham Hill, second.
Thank you. Any board discussion or questions? Seeing none, any public comment?
And this is the moderator. We've again opened that Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on these last 3 items, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen, type comment or I would like to comment into the text field, submitting that to our panelists. And for our call-in users, you may raise your hand by dialing *3. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. So I believe this means that we can move on to item 7B, Executive Committee Report. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, I believe you need your vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. You are correct. I got ahead of myself. Apologize. All right, we will now do a roll call vote. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Luz?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Maxey? Still not here. Ms. Niebles?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Rooks?
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm Carol Mountain. I also vote yes. That is moved through unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Yamaguchi. Board members, please raise your hand if you have any questions or comments for Ms. Yamaguchi. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to 7B, the Executive Committee Report, which I will present. Normally, the Executive Committee meeting minutes would have been included in the packet. Due to time constraints, this was not possible. For this meeting, I will provide a brief overview of the discussions. In the future, we will have the meeting notes included in the board agenda packets. During the Executive Board Committee meetings, we reviewed the budget and the hiring and our, sorry, the word just left my mind. The disciplinary actions. Ms. Yamaguchi, was there anything further that needed to be covered from that meeting?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Executive Committee has been routinely having updates from the divisions, as well as a report on board member compliance with all trainings and with balloting.
Thank you, Ms. Yamaguchi. Are there any questions about the report? Seeing none, we will move on to 7B, discussion and possible action to delegate the executive officer the authority to adopt a decision entered by default and a stipulation for surrender of a license.
Excuse me, this is Alita Carpenter.
Go ahead.
On the last item, were the executive committee reports in separate email attachments, or do we not have it at all?
Ms. Carpenter, my apologies. They were not sent out. We were not able to prepare them.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right. Is it all right to move forward to 7B? Seems that it would be. The executive committee discussed another issue from our sunset legislation, that of delegation of authority to the executive officer to adopt decisions entered by default and stipulations for surrender of a license. The sunset legislation uses the word shall and therefore requires the board to delegate this authority to the executive officer. The motion from the executive committee is for the board to delegate to the executive officer the authority to adopt a decision entered by default and a stipulation for surrender of a license effective immediately. As a motion from the committee, it does not require a second. Any board discussion or questions regarding this topic? Ms. Carpenter, I see your hand raised.
So I'm sorry, that was from the last item.
Oh, no worries. Anyone else have questions about 7B?
This is Deblis. Can you? I don't know if I'm hearing this right. So it's delegating authority to the executive officer of what type of authority?
Ms. Yamaguchi, could you address this?
Certainly. Thank you, Ms. Neblos, for the question. Generally speaking, when the board members receive the packets for disciplinary actions from the petitioners, some of those items have been what we refer to as a decision from default, which means that the petitioner chose not to respond to the request of, do you want to enter a defense, or to, if you want to stipulate for surrender of a license, and they do not, for example, offer opposition to that stipulation. So generally speaking, I believe there are probably very few of those going into the board packets these days. But I believe that it is a very efficient motion. A number of boards do avail themselves of this, and essentially, as we say, this eliminates a good amount of time for us to wait and go back and forth with folks who actually choose not to participate in the process. So it saves the board time, it saves the staff time, and basically it allows us to move on licensees who should not be licensees any longer, and so we have them no longer practicing and quicker.
Thank you very much. That really explains it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Yamaguchi. That really was a great explanation. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Any public comment?
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to comment on this item, please use that Q&A icon to type the word comment, or I would like to make a comment into the text box and submit that to our panelists. For our call-in users, you may raise your hand by dialing *3. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
I would, thank you.
It is closed.
And we will now do a roll call vote. Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Carpenter?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Durking?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Ms. Luce?
Yes.
Mr. Maxey? Okay. Ms. Neeblis?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Rooks?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. That is, the motion is approved unanimously. Are there any questions? All right, we can move on to item 8. We have an update from the Department of Consumer Affairs. Ms. Carrie Holmes, the Deputy Director for the Board and Bureau Relations, is joining us to provide an update. Ms. Holmes, welcome.
Good morning, Board President Mountain and board members. I am Carrie Holmes, Deputy Director of Board and Bureau Relations at the Department of Consumer Affairs. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to provide a department update today. DCA appreciates all board members and staff who have continued to serve through this pandemic that has affected all of us in many ways. As California moves past the recent surge and into a new endemic reality, a new state public health order will lift universal masking for vaccinated individuals beginning February 16th. It did. Unvaccinated individuals must still wear face coverings in all indoor settings and in some high-risk settings, such as healthcare facilities. Face coverings will be required for everyone, regardless of vaccination status. Local orders may be more restrictive to respond to community conditions. Please be aware of changing public health guidance and remember that as state representatives, we are all expected to adhere to state and local orders while carrying out our duties. On January 5th, Governor Newsom signed an executive order that extends the sunset date set in Assembly Bill 361, allowing boards and committees to meet remotely through March 31st, 2022. I'm happy to let you know that on January 31st, Assemblymember Quirk introduced new legislation, AB 1733, which would permanently allow boards and committees to meet remotely, while also providing both virtual and physical options for members of the public to participate. If this bill is passed by the legislature and signed by the governor, it would take place immediately. We cannot be certain that AB 1733 will be enacted or when, so boards should prepare for the possibility of in-person meetings after March 31st. Before attending any in-person board meetings, members must verify full vaccination with DCA's Office of Human Resources or participate in COVID-19 testing. If members have not yet done so, please submit your proof of vaccination if you plan to. Your participation will assist DCA in planning for testing at future meetings. Please do this as soon as possible. Don't hesitate to reach out if you need assistance. I want to express my appreciation for the flexibility of board members, staff, and the public as we have gone through this together. I'm optimistic about the future, and I look forward to meeting you in person one day. Whether remote or in person, DCA does want to help keep your board fully seated with excellent members and diverse voices. Currently, the board has 2 licensee vacancies. I can assure you that DCA and the governor's office are actively working on your appointments, and that I don't have any specific news for you today. I hope to in the future, close future. Individuals interested in serving should visit board member resources on DCA's homepage to apply for an appointment. And some updates from DCA. DCA's Enlighten Licensing Project was formed in 2020 to utilize licensing subject matter experts within the entire DCA. The group's purpose is to help individual boards and bureaus streamline and make their licensing processes more effective and efficient by utilizing best practices, IT, and cost-saving measures. The first deep dive, which was into the Board of Registered Nursing, has completed. A report will be released next month with recommendations that can be used by all boards and bureaus to improve their processes. After this successful first round, the work group will begin directly assisting another board or bureau. As DCA looks to the future, Director Kirkmeyer continues to lead the department towards continual improvement and excellent service. DCA is pleased to announce that Tanya Corcoran has been selected to serve as the department's first compliance and equity officer effective March 2nd. Ms. Corcoran brings invaluable expertise, insight, and years of hands-on experience with DCA boards and bureaus to this new position, most recently as Chief Deputy Registrar at the Contractor State License Board. This position will oversee DCA's solid training and planning solutions, organizational improvement office, Equal Employment Opportunity Office, and Internal Audit Office. Bringing these offices together under Ms. Corcoran's leadership will be a tremendous benefit, allowing DCA to better identify and analyze emerging issues department-wide and provide timely solutions to DCA's divisions, boards, and bureaus. As a reminder, board members have training and reporting requirements. Thank you to new members for actively working to complete your requirements. Please always remember to include your board staff in any administrative emails so the board can maintain accurate records. Each year, all members are required by law to file a Form 700 before April 1st. DCA requests that you file as soon as possible. And as a tip, I'll let you know the best way to avoid all of my reminder emails and calls is to file early. If anyone needs assistance, DCA's filing officer and legal counsel are available to help. Board members are required by law to attend board member orientation training within a year of appointment or reappointment. This also applies to any members who were appointed or reappointed more than a year ago, but have not completed the training. Please do not allow any more time to go by. Live virtual trainings will be held March 9th, June 15th, and October 12th. Register for the BMOT through the Learning Management System, or LMS, which is DCA's training portal. And finally, congratulations to Board President Mountain and Vice President Dierking on your re-election today. I hope to see you online at next week's Board President's Training, Tuesday at noon. As always, Board and Bureau Relations is here to help. If there's anything I can do to assist, please reach out. This concludes my presentation, and I'll hand it back over to Board President Mountain.
Thank you so much, Ms. Holmes. We appreciate you coming in and talking to us. Are there any questions from the board? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Item 9A is the licensing division report, and Ms. Rainey will provide the report.
Hi, this is Vicki Lyman. I'm going to be doing the licensing report. Our administration and licensing chief, Candace Rainey, has left the board for an amazing opportunity at the California Correctional Healthcare Services. Her last day with the board was yesterday, and we wish her well. I'm going to make some references to the licensing division report, which is agenda item 9A that was in the packet that you received. This is a lengthy report as the licensing statistics are attached, and it's over 30 pages. I think these statistics are a wealth of information and provide a pulse check on the licensing division's performance. We've had up to 5 program technician 2 vacancies and 1 supervising program technician 2 vacancy. Shelley Brown, our licensing manager, and Zeb Berkman, our supervising program technician 2, have done an excellent job making sure the work is getting done and the phone answered. Thankfully, we filled those positions and our new team members are doing well. I would like to introduce our new team members. Michael Hall is our new supervising program technician 2, and our new program technician 2s are Tracy Denner, Nicholas Gonzalez, Erica Houston, and Zachary Hallman. If we were meeting in person, we would invite our new team members to the board meeting and actually have the opportunity to shake your hands. Hopefully, when we return to in-person meetings, you will have the opportunity to meet them. We currently have 2 staff service analyst vacancies in licensing that will be filled shortly. Shelley held interviews, I think, 2 weeks ago. One of our analysts left the board for a promotional opportunity, and Leslie Snow retired after dedicating over 20 years to the licensing division. There's a few stats that I wanted to share with you. In 2021, we had an average 95% caller assist rate, up from an average 87% caller assist rate in 2020. This means that we answered 95% of the incoming phone calls. Customers sometimes abandon calls, which means they hang up for various reasons. Interestingly, the average time on hold for callers decreased in 2021 by 68%, from an average 5 minutes on hold in 2020 to an average of 1.6 minutes on hold in 2021. The licensing technicians continued doing an amazing job on the inquiry line. We had a slight increase in processing time for VN school applications in January of 2021, which was a long time ago, but I feel it's important to bring this to your attention. During that time, our applications took 3.4 weeks to process compared to the rest of the year, and we attributed the increase to staffing shortages. The processing time was down to less than a week in April of 2021, and there were 2 other months, June and September, where the processing time was over 1 week but less than 2. When there is an increase such as this, we research what is happening during that time period and make sure that we direct the necessary resources to ensure that backlogs do not get out of hand, as backlogs increase the number of incoming phone calls to the board. So does anybody have any questions regarding any of the statistics that were included in that 30-page report or anything that I just mentioned?
No, but I would like to welcome all the new members to the board. Excellent. We're so glad you're here.
They're doing great with their training, and we're very fortunate to have them.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Ms. Lyman. We will move on to item 10A, the Legislative and Regulations Committee report. Mr. Durkin will provide this report.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. A report of the committee's last meeting of November 18th last year is labeled as item 10A in the meeting materials. We have not met since, but that will be calendared soon. We will send out notification on that. That moves us to rulemaking update, AB 2138, update of CCR sections 2521 and 2522. The regulatory package was filed with the Office of Administrative Law on October 18th, 2021. OAL is now waiting for the return of a standard form 399 economic and fiscal impact statement to come back from the Department of Finance so that a completion of the review of the package can take place. On the fee schedule, 1A1B, the notice of proposed regulatory action was filed with the Office of Administrative Law on January 14th, 2022. The notice was published in the California Regulatory Notice Register on January 28th, 22. And so that begins a 45-day public comment period. The public comment period will end on Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. Following conclusion of the public comment period, of course, the board will hold a public hearing regarding the fee schedule, and we're calendared for Wednesday, March 16th from 10 to noon. The executive committee will be hosting the public hearing in the context of its own committee meeting. And the board has already received a number of public comments, and we will be reviewing those and any further comments at the special board meeting to be held on April 7th, 2022. Moving on to item C, development of emergency regulations to implement the provisions of AB 1536. We took a number of actions under item 7 today on today's agenda, especially relating to the processing, the application for approval of the new school programs. And we also did handle the default decision, which was also covered under AB 1536 implementation. Am I missing? I would defer to Elaine to go over anything I may have missed on 1536.
No, Mr. Chair, you've got it all. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So that brings us to the program pass rate standards for vocational nursing programs in schools for the preparation of psych techs, 16 Code of California Regulations, sections 2530 and 2585. Last June 17th, 2021, the board adopted text and authorized staff to initiate the rulemaking process to amend the program pass standard rates from no more than 10 percentage points below the state average pass rate to a yearly average minimum pass rate of the licensure exam of 75%. The rulemaking package is on hold until staff can complete the emergency regulations mandated by Assembly Bill 1536. And then finally, the rulemaking calendar for 2022. The calendar for 2022 was reviewed and adopted by the board at our November 19th, 2021 board meeting. calendar was submitted to the Department of Consumer Affairs, who then distributes all boards and bureaus' calendars to the Office of Administrative Law. Calendars are then published in the California Regulatory Notice Register and on the Office of Administrative Law's website. And then the BVNPT will also be publishing the calendar on the board website. And that concludes the Legislative Regulations Committee report. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Durking. Are there any further questions from the board? Is there any public comment?
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to comment on this report, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment or I would like to make a comment into the text field and submit that to our panelists. Our call-in users may raise your hand by dialing *3. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. Item 11A is the Enforcement Division report. Ms. Wood, would you please provide this report?
Hello, yes, my name is Antoinette Wood. I'm the Enforcement Division Chief. The Enforcement Division is responsible for the investigation of complaints, review of applicants with criminal histories, and the discipline process. We also oversee licensees on probation to ensure consumer safety. Excuse me, the first thing I would like to talk about is our public service announcement. We're currently working on our suicide prevention video with our headquarters public information officers. We'll be presenting a script at the next Enforcement Committee meeting, and we hope that board members will be willing to participate in this video. Are there any questions about this?
No, but I really appreciate you working on the suicide prevention video. This has certainly become even more of a problem during the pandemic. So kudos to your staff for taking this on.
Thank you. As to the current status of our division, as you've seen, the division is in an incredible position with the number of complaints on our case aging. Our complaints are currently under 1,000. While we may see the incremental rise and fall of complaints, the division is doing well. I'd like to give a staffing and process improvements update. Since the backlog is cleared and our complaints are under 1,000, we are able to start focusing on key areas noted by the strategic plan and the Enforcement Division's management team to ensure the continued success of the division. The areas we are currently targeting are the efficient operation of the division, talent utilization, recruitment, and staff and manager training. For efficient operations, we have focused on efficiency through the minimization of errors and delays. We are looking at quality and consistency so we can be an agile organization that responds and adapts quickly to changes. The management team and I have conducted audits of the intake and enhanced screening unit and the licensee and applicant review unit to ensure that as we close cases, we close them appropriately and in a efficient amount of time. I've also worked cases to determine where we can minimize errors and delays. The policies and procedures for these units have recently been reviewed and updates have been made. We are currently auditing the probation unit, which includes updating the disciplinary guidelines, which were last updated in 2011. We have also updated our communication strategies to include our advisories, which are sent out via email. Each advisory takes a specific topic and breaks it down into an easy to read and understand format for our staff. By sending it out via email, we have also created a written record that staff can continue to refer to. These advisories are typically supported with additional documentation, which is attached to the email and hyperlinked for easy reference. Some of the recent topics we have discussed are analytical thinking and effective communication via email. We have also begun recording our trainings to create a library of trainings that staff can access at any time. These trainings include our Expert Witness Program, our Public Records Act, and other issues that staff commonly face. For talent utilization, we have begun having conversations with staff about how they would like to be developed and implementing plans to accommodate these requests. We believe that by cross-training staff, we will create a stronger and more versatile workforce with the added bonus of employee retention. In the area of recruitment, we have updated our recruitment tools, which focus on finding people with the talent that we need. For instance, it can be difficult to find someone with excellent writing and research skills. Therefore, we changed our scoring matrix and related documents to focus on these skills. We've also updated all of our duty statements so that when we do have a vacancy, we can quickly fill it. In the area of manager training, in order to continue to ensure that the division is professionally developing both the staff and managers, the division recently held a training for all of the enforcement managers that specifically looked at how to enhance staff skills. This training, called Strength Finders, focuses on understanding the manager's strengths and focusing on those to develop them. This is very different from most training classes, as we don't discuss weaknesses or flaws. We focus on what we are good at and how we can use those strengths to do our work better. We also discussed how we can use those skills to support and train our staff. We have completed the first part of the Management Professional Development Series and plan to continue to build on the foundation of this knowledge with additional trainings. Does anyone have any comments or questions about the directions we are taking the division in, or about the Enforcement Division report or statistics?
Hi, this is Board Member Nieblas. I'm just wondering, when you mentioned Strengths Finder, is that based on working on your strengths and emphasizing those? I think I've taken that training. It's really good. So that's great to hear that it's being used.
Yes, so it's the Clifton Strengths. It's something that multiple California state departments use, and I think it's very helpful. It's positive. It's an interesting way to start a conversation about people.
Yes, from a plus side instead of deficits. I love it. I took the training myself. It's a great training. I'm glad you're using it.
Great.
If there's no other board member comments, are there any public comments? Are there any public comments? Thank you.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this report, please use that Q&A icon to submit the word comment or the phrase "I would like to make a comment" to our panelists. And for our calling users, you may dial *3 to raise your hand. Our first comment comes from Fernando Lugo. Fernando, I've sent a request to unmute your microphone. As a reminder, you will have 3 minutes.
I just have a question or a comment. My license was revoked due to the disciplinary actions that I didn't respond to the offer to a hearing, but I was recently taken off probation from my situation. I have cleared my record and I have no outstanding criminal record at this moment. Do I really have to wait until the 3-year probationary period, or is there anything I can do to help me get my vocational license back?
Madam Chair, this comment is not germane. I would refer the speaker to Ms. Wood to connect with her offline, but it's not germane to the agenda item and cannot be discussed at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swenson. And sir, we will refer you to get in touch with Ms. Wood, where you could speak with her offline. Thank you for coming to our meeting, though.
Seeing no additional requests for comment, would you like me to close the panel?
I would. Thank you so much.
It is closed.
Our next agenda item is 11B, but I believe Mr. Maxey is still not here. Is that correct?
He is with us now.
He is. Excellent. All right. 11B is the Enforcement Committee report. Mr. Maxey, will you please provide this report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. My apologies for being a little bit tardy to our meeting today. Hello, everyone. As you know, the Enforcement Division has been diligently working on lowering the case aging and the amount of cases we currently have. Antoinette and her team are doing a fantastic job at that. We are in a better position now than we have been in years, and with fewer than 1,000 open cases. As Antoinette and her team will have mentioned, we have implemented several strategies that we feel are important for our continued success. I'm going to discuss the documents you will be receiving at the next board meeting for review. I wanted to introduce some of those documents to you all. Really that I'm excited about are the knowledge transfer plan, a key component to ensuring the continued success of the division. It's a knowledge transfer plan that guarantees that we are developing the next generation of analysts and managers. As a board, we need to ensure that the division does not have the issues with key persons dependencies, that the knowledge of the enforcement process isn't just in the heads of the analysts and the managers, and that it's memorized in our policies and our procedures, which are kept up to date. Our knowledge transfer plan will ensure we have an informed and engaged workforce, and it will include rotational programs to help with cross-training and individual and group trainings. We are making a commitment to the teamwork and the board's mission and vision. Secondly, the outreach. A large component to ensuring complaint licenses is outreach. We need to guarantee that they have a clear understanding of the scope of their practice, the possible pitfalls within their field. And to this end, we will have to create an aggressive and outreach plan, which we will be presenting to the board at the next, through our next enforcement meeting. And then lastly, the Enforcement Division Board Manual, which I believe Antoinette has talked a little bit about, which is really to be intended for a crash course in the Enforcement Division's work and how to help and assist the board members in their new roles. The learning curve for positions such as these is often steep due to the in-depth knowledge needed. And so with that, I'll end my comments from our last meeting, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Maxey. Board members, do you have any questions for Mr. Maxey? Seeing none, are there any further public comments?
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this report, please click on that Q&A icon, typing comment or I would like to make a comment into the text field and submitting that to our panelists. Our call-in users may use *3 to raise their hand. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
I would. Thank you so much.
It is closed.
And we are ready to move on to item 12, discussion of committee structure and member roles. Ms. Yamaguchi, will you provide some background, and then we will open the floor for questions and comments from the board.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members. We put in your packet, of course, the existing committee structure with the roles that they play and the subject matters. What I wanted to stress for the board members is how important the committee structure is to the work of the board. This is where the really detailed policy discussions are supposed to take place. And this is where, as Mr. Maxey was saying, that the work of actual projects that the board members work with the staff on, the best example being the suicide prevention video. It's important that we have a real vigorous committee structure that enables all the board members to be a very vocal, active participants in the work we do. We think this is probably one of the most important things to foster the board members' engagement in what we do. That being said, there's also a couple of other factors. One is, of course, that in a board like this, it is essential that the board members serve in a ministerial function, that they're providing the oversight to the work the staff do. I think the most vivid example I can offer you is reviewing our statistics from month to month to year and noting the trends and asking, what is happening here that's creating these ripples? What is causing this tremendous, increase in efficiency, for example? This is also a very, very important role of the board members themselves. So we want to make certain that the board members understand the importance of the structure, and when you go to the point where you are requesting committee assignments, to bear in mind, your own personal expertise and your own personal interests, roles, backgrounds. For example, it's really, I think, a very solid plus to have, for example, licensee members participating in the Education and Practice Committee, in the Enforcement Committee. We really value that perspective as we go forward. It's difficult to do this and to balance this, because aside from Education and Practice, our committees tend to consist of 2 members. So having an 11-member board at full strength and dividing it up over X number of committees, sometimes it's a little challenging, and sometimes we have board members being asked to double up. We don't oppose that, by the way, but we do actually want to make certain that every board member has the opportunity to participate to as much as they possibly like. So that being said, I wanted to not walk through committee by committee, but basically provide the board members with that understanding of what it means. Because quite honestly, the committees themselves, as they are, they're there for a reason. They're there for very important reasons. But I don't know that it's essential to have a committee meet just for the sake of meetings. We think it's really important that the committees be flexible and nimble, so that we can possibly, for example, redirect the board members' energy and attention and work to something that's an extremely pressing new issue. So we want the board members to consider the existing committees, but also think through what are some things really looming that we might want to think about, not so much in creating new standing committees, but possibly thinking through the idea of ad hoc committees, of targeted work groups, and what we could possibly be concentrating on. I think a lot of the work like that would engage an ad hoc committee or special project committee, a lot of them would be in making certain that we finish through strategic plan goals. So with that, though, let me just pause and push this back to the chair and ask the board members for comments, questions, discussion. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions, discussion from the board? I personally think ad hoc committees sounds like a really great idea. There's no questions for Ms. Yamaguchi?
This is Ms. Luce. I agree with you.
There are no further questions. So
all right, well then let me just go ahead. Let me just close then by saying we did attach the committee request form in the packet, and if you need it sent separately, I can certainly do so. But it is essentially, it is just so important, and I would really appreciate every board member sending that in the next week or so. What happens from here is once we have all the board member committee requests, myself and the AEO will probably look through and create like a listing or a grid, and the executive committee at its next meeting will look at that grid and create our ongoing committee structure. Now, we've also in our policies had our committees serve for 2 years. So keep that in mind as you're thinking through what role you would like to play. And the very final thing would be, we hope that the interest is very high. Please, if you do have ideas for projects or issues that you'd especially like to work on, please do indicate that on the form and make sure it's back to me very soon. Thank you, Madam Chair and board members.
Ms. Yamaguchi, could I request that you do send that separate form out to each board member? I think that would make it a lot easier for them.
I certainly will.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I actually have a comment that could be beneficial. There's a lot of people with disabilities who would love to be part of the medical field, either as LVNs or others. And I'm wondering if we have any committee that does ADA accommodations when it comes to schooling or taking the test itself, the different tests, to making sure that they have access just like everybody else.
Ms. Neeblis, we don't, and that's a really interesting point. And actually it reminded me of something that I forgot to mention, and that is the fact, of course, that the president and the board can also create something more along the lines of advisory committees. I don't really advise the advisory committees just basically, but we can actually ask folks, non-board members, to participate in some advisory groups. We've done so in the past, most notably with the project on respiratory care, mechanical event training. But I think that's a really interesting suggestion. And
can I address that issue of disabilities at schools? Because we actually have an entire program in place for any LVN or RN student who has a disability, all the way to the point where there are special stethoscopes that can be purchased so that people that have hearing issues can hear more clearly. And anyone with learning disabilities, that's addressed. There are certain areas that it would be very difficult to become an RN or LVN. Vision impairment is one, although I do know of a blind nurse who did function. And the other one is there are certain lifting requirements, and it's been a discussion within the community colleges for many years because it's a requirement from the hospitals. So we always have to work within the constraints of the facilities. But I also agree that it's an interesting suggestion. And if there was anything that the board could do to support those that are interested, I think it would be good.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that information and being open to that suggestion. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Yamaguchi, for your presentation about the committees. Other questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Just a quick question. This is Alita Carpenter. If we're already serving on 2 committees that we feel best utilize whatever skills and backgrounds we might bring to the committee, do we still need to submit the paperwork?
Oh, thank you, Ms. Carpenter. That's a great question. Yes, we would like you to indicate on that request form where you already are, and the extent to which you'd like to continue in that capacity, and add in anything you might like to do, because as I was mentioning, there's a lot of ground to cover, and so we might well ask some people to change where they have been in the past.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board? It's a hot topic.
This is Ms. Luce. I was just going to say, if it's possible to identify where there are gaps in the committees, because if folks are already serving on committees, I would love to know where the need is.
Oh, that's a really good question. We were kind of thinking that with the new board and a 2-year cycle, we would kind of start from scratch. But I'm absolutely, when I send out the form, I will send out the list of who's where existing.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Item 13, I believe, is public comment on items not on the agenda.
This is the moderator. We've opened that Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment for items not on today's agenda, please use that Q&A icon to submit the word comment or the phrase "I would like to make a comment" in the text box and submit that to our panelists. For our call-in users, you may raise your hand by dialing *3. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. Item 14 is suggestions for future agenda items. Board members, please raise your hand if you have any suggestions for future agenda items. Oh, Ms. Carpenter, your hand is still raised. Do you have a suggestion? Oh.
Again, I apologize.
Anyone else have suggestions for future agenda items? Seeing none, could we see if there are any public comments for suggestions for future agenda items?
This is the moderator. If you would like to submit any suggestions for future agenda items, please use that Q&A panel. You can type the word "comment" into the text box and we will call on you. For our call-in users, you can raise your hand by dialing *3. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
I would. Thank you so much.
It is closed.
Thank you. I would like to propose that we take a lunch break now and then that the board members will return for a closed session. Could we do a 45-minute lunch and return at 10 to 1?
Madam Chair, Ken Swenson here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would recommend that when the board return from the lunch break, that it reconvene and immediately retire to closed session and not reconvene following the closed session if the board has nothing to report out. So
Can we, Mr. Swenson, please just direct me on how we do that?
So at this point then, you can have the lunch break. When you reconvene, you'll immediately retire to closed session. No members of the public will be permitted to participate. And then once the closed session is over, you can simply adjourn without reconvening an open session.
Okay, do I have to do something now? Do I adjourn now? I can't adjourn.
No, you can state within your discretion as the chair of how to proceed, but that's what I recommend. And so if you indicate that on the record,
okay,
that you're not going to reconvene an open session, then we can cut everyone loose that is would not be part of the closed session.
Absolutely, that's what we would like to do. Is so I would like to indicate that when the board returns from lunch at 10 to 1, we will go directly into closed session and we will not reconvene this meeting.
In open session.
In open session. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, please have a nice lunch and I'll see you at 10 to 1.